If you want something done right, don't do it yourself. Create a how-to manual so that other people can do it just as well as you would. Today's Process Ninja tip is around creating how-to manuals, or as some people like to call them, SOP manuals, standard operating procedures. Now, I've run into two different opinions of how-to manuals. One client I'm working with, when I give them their how-to documentation, so we're all on the same page, this how-to documentation is kind of this lower level screenshots, click here, click there. This is how you can do your job within the system. So this one client, I give them the how-to documentation and they literally print it out and hug the binder to themselves and say, this is the greatest thing in the world. We can now give this to people when we're training them. They're so grateful that they have this information so they can now do their job correctly. And they have something to look back on, because after training, like a full week of training, we know they're not going to remember everything or barely anything because they're exhausted and they're confused and everything's so new. So now they have this documentation to look back on, and we love it, and we're going to keep it forever, and we're never going to let it go. So that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum, which I probably run into more often, is business leaders saying, I'm not a dictator. I am not going to tell my people what to do, but I want them to do everything correctly. This doesn't work out, people. You have to provide people with the tools to do things the way you expect them to do things. You can't just throw them to the wolves and then get mad at them because the outcome that they created is not the same as what you were expecting. Like it doesn't work that way. If you have 3 people and you tell 3 people to do this job and you don't give them instructions on how to do it, like low level instructions on how to do it within a system, where to click, where to go, those 3 people have completely different experiences, completely different skill sets, and they're going to create 3 completely different ways and outcomes to get the job done. And these people are just like, these leaders sometimes are so shocked that things, aren't going smoothly, that their business deep down inside isn't a well-oiled machine. But how could it be? I think most individuals, like, yes, I don't like being told what to do. So I understand these leaders where they say, I don't want to tell people what to do. Sometimes when I'm told you have to do this, I'll turn around and do the opposite thing, because I don't know, that's just my personality. Sometimes I just don't like getting told what to do. But anytime I started a new job, I loved being given the tools and the click here, click there. Here's how you can be successful within your job. I loved getting that information because my main goal, and 99.9% of the people within your organization, their main goal is to be successful in their job. Their main goal is to do everything right. So if you are not setting them up for success, you can't really blame them for not doing everything right. So give your people those tools, those how-to documentation, that low-level information, so that they can actually do their job right, because that's what you need. If I'm coming in and I'm accounts payable, I don't need to know. I mean, I guess I kind of need to know, but when it really gets down to it, I don't necessarily, like, knowing that I pay bills, accounts payable, pay bills. Like, yes, that's great high level information, but what I really need to know is, where do I go to get those bills? What do I do within the system to get those bills paid? How do I, complete my task? How do I get from point A to point B successfully and efficiently and in the best way possible? And again, I understand a lot of leaders don't want to be dictators. They don't want to micromanage. But there's a difference between being a dictator and providing your people with the tools to enable them to actually get their jobs done successfully. So if you're on that end of the spectrum where you just hate how-to documentation, you hate SOP manuals because it's just a bunch of red tape that gets in the way, rethink that thought. And remember, if you want things to get done right, don't do them yourself. Create how-to documentation so that other people can do them as well as you. That is my Process Ninja tip this Thursday. Stop back next week to hear another one.